Thank you so much for coming tonight to the, hey, Kieran, how are you? To the MAAP program, Navigating the Journey Your Pet Takes. This week, I actually was a participant in a CC University, giving people who have pets, pet owners, all sorts of information regarding how to take care of their pets in the event something happens to them. It was interesting because most of the questions were, oh my God, I didn't realize that if I had all my directions in my will, that wasn't enough. And then after the event, one of the people who've heard me speak before, I only had 20 minutes. And imagine, I never run out of things to say. So in 30 minutes or 20 minutes, I was like, holy Toledo. I didn't mention the transportation of animals. And that's come to roost in my life. Hi, Sally. Hi, Deb. Hi, Rose. Good to see you all. Before we start and I check in, I just want to say that it's really come home to roost for me about traveling with animals. And hi, Connie. I'm just starting. I started with reflecting on the fact that I spoke for a CC University. I'll be speaking for a CC University again tomorrow. On Tuesday, it was for pet owners on how to navigate the journey your pet takes. And it was interesting that most people did not know that age-old question that I bang my head against the wall for, which is if you have all your plans in your will, not enough. They all said, what do you mean it's not enough? I don't need anybody to care for my dogs until I'm dead. I'm like, well, let's talk about COVID. Let's talk about dementia. Let's talk about a broken arm, a broken leg. So you really do need your plans inside and outside your will, which is key. But a colleague of mine who listens to me all the time, who was on the program, said, you forgot about travel. And I was really upset I forgot about travel because now with COVID, things are even worse. But you really need to make sure you are prepared when you travel. And I can tell you from personal experience, people don't listen to you. I will tell you this story really quickly. My son, Drew, who I love, is leaving California with my grandkitty, Jane. She's a little gray cat that he got from a rescue, gray and white. She's very cute. And you'll see her pictures in some of my photos on my Facebook page. Well, his idea is to drive cross country with Jane free because it's too long a drive to keep her, right? Okay, Deb, yep. Too long a drive to keep her caged up. He'll just let her wander around the car. She'll be fine. So, you know what happens when your mother tells you to do anything, right? You will do the exact opposite just because your mother is a pain in the butt. First of all, I asked him to have a second opinion before he had all of Jane's teeth pulled out. But he said, no, his vet was great. And I know my really dear colleague who has been on Why Do Pets Matter, my podcast, which if you guys haven't listened to yet, you should listen to. His name is Jeremy Cohen. He said, I just wish everybody would get a second opinion. He goes, no one gets a second opinion. He goes, and then when shit hits the fan, they go, I didn't know. And it's like, could you please have a second opinion? Hi, Carol, how are you? So we're talking just initially on a talk I gave this week for a CC Animal Health on caring for your pets. And we're talking specifically about traveling with your pets, which some people are very good at doing. And I always thought I was. I've learned a lot over the years. But I was talking about my son who's traveling from California to North Carolina with my grandkitty Jane and felt that letting her wander around the car aimlessly, and she's never been in the car, so that's always another perk, that would be fine. And so I was saying that you cannot ever tell your children when you're their mother what they might think about doing, because immediately I will do something different. I will not do what my mother says. I will do something different. So I luckily have many friends who are in the animal behavior field and in the vet field who I called on and just did some introductory emails for tips for travel with your cat cross country. And so for my listeners here, I have so many who download this every week, and I'm so grateful to you. I know you can't show up because whatever time I have it doesn't fit for some people. But I'm really super glad everybody's here. And I want you to know that making sure that the cat isn't a carrier, making frequent stops where you can give the cat room to potty in the car, You can let them out of the cage. It was suggested that you put a little harness on them so that if they go running around the car, you can actually get them again. And to make sure that when you start driving again, guess where the cat is? Not under the gas pedal or the brake, in a cage. And I tried to be really nice and say, but what would happen, God forbid, if you had an accident and Jane was thrown from the car, or if you had an accident and Jane was thrown against the windshield? I said, and she was splat cat. That would not be really nice. And so he said I was worrying too much. I'm, I know I see from the shaking heads that that isn't necessarily how anyone else on this panel feels. Uh, but I just wanted to share that with you, that no matter what I say and what I do, my head is banging. I have a flat forehead because my head is banging against the wall, even talking to my own children on how they should travel with their pets. So before we start, I'm going to do two things. I've only been 6 minutes in, so I'm going to do it really quick. I always start with what MAP stands for, because I know some of the people here know what MAP stands for, and others of us who are new might not know what MAP stands for. So it stands for making a plan, and that has to be a realistic plan that can be carried out by others in your stead, whether you have one of the 7 Ds, which is divorce, delay, disability, disaster, dementia, death, and disability. I remembered them. Yay. Sometimes I forget one. But all of those things can affect the way you care for your pet. So if you have something in your will, if you're not dead yet, it doesn't come to fruition. So I always talk to attorneys of my clients who've written a MAP plan and say, listen, I get it. You don't want to handle this person's pets at the end of their life, or if something happens to them, but you need to help them make a plan that actually works. And if they incorporate the MAP plan into the will, the trust, any estate documents, then it happens whether you're alive or dead. Whether you have dementia, you break your arm, you break your leg, all the funding you put away will be used for you. So you have to make that plan. You have to have it made in writing. Hello, writing. Please don't do it over a glass of wine. You need to appoint caregivers. Hi, we're just pointing out the what MAAP stands for. The first A stands for appointing caregivers, and those have to be people who are not in it for the money. Those people have to be in it for the fact that they want to care for your pet. So it's not about the money. If it's about the money, find another caregiver. And the second A is for address the needs of your pet. We all have perfect pets. There is not one idiosyncrasy in any of our pets that we should alert someone to, except maybe my Roxy, who does not like white dogs at all. Chickens doesn't like those either. So if you're around a chicken, a live chicken, I mean, she loves cooked chickens, but live chickens she loves to dispatch so they soon become meals. So I need to tell somebody that because they might not know. So these are the things you need to address. Should these dogs be together? Should these dogs never be together? Should they be with children? Shouldn't they be with children? This is all information that if you provide in the plan you make, will make that pet transition to a situation, temporary or permanent, that it'll really thrive. And then finally, if you're going to make the plan, don't stick it in a drawer. Make sure you publish it. It is so important to publish that plan. Now, who do you publish it with? Well, first of all, I've actually had someone who wrote my plan and never told her husband. And when she died, he didn't know about it. And all her dogs were given away to people she didn't want because he didn't even know she made a plan. So you have to publish it with your family, A. You have to publish it with all the caregivers. Why would I do that, Deborah? They'll be competing against each other. Not really. You really want to make sure everyone knows who's going to care for your pets in order, because if somebody all of a sudden can't because they had to sell their house or they're sick, broke their arm or whatever, then they know, oh, okay, so Mary can't take it, but Sue can take it. And Sue knows that Mary broke her arm, so she's going to be first up. So everybody knows how to take care of the pets. There's what I call the safe redundancy of care. And you have to let your attorney know, and you have to let your veterinarian know. And you're like, oh my God, I don't want to let my veterinarian know. Why would I? That's just morbid. And I go, well, if your friend brings your dog into the veterinarian and your veterinarian doesn't have their name in that file, your veterinarian is required by law, and I'm an attorney, I can tell you this, not to treat that dog, because you are not giving them permission, and you are the person they have the vet client relationship with to take care of that pet. So if you have people who are going to be taking care of your pet for you, long term, short term, make sure their name is in the vet's file. I have to say that there were several times when my husband broke his shoulder. I mean, the reason, some of you know, I'll repeat it really quickly. I broke my ankle, and that's why I built the MAP plan. I also had a husband who broke his shoulder, and the MAP plan came in beautifully because I had to run into the doctor, or I had to help him take a shower, and it was such peace of mind to know that my redundant caregivers could come over to let the dogs out, let the dogs in, feed the dogs, whatever they needed. I didn't have to tell them, wait till I get home, cross your legs. It was in place, ready to go. And some of us have that verbally with people. But now during COVID, many people are not suspecting that they're going to be admitted into the hospital. And if they are, then they don't have time to tell anybody about anything. And a number of pets, it's one of the horrors of COVID, a number of pets are being taken to animal care and control because their parents are in the hospital. And several, spoke to their neighbors in apartment buildings and said, take care of the dog. I'm just going to the hospital. I'll be back tonight. Well, they didn't come back for 2 weeks. And the person taking care of them said, listen, I can't take care of this cat anymore. So animal care and control came and took the cat. And you're not out of the hospital. So unfortunately, if you don't know this, I'll tell you for the first time, and if you do know this, it bears repeating. If animal care and control takes your pet, they are required to hold it for a certain period of time, 5 to 7 days. If you don't answer your phone because you're intubated and cannot answer your phone, and no one answers your phone for you, and your pet is at animal care and control, they are allowed to release that pet to a rescue, a shelter, a breed rescue, whatever. If they release that dog or cat or bird or horse to the rescue, and the rescue finds a home for it, you will never see that dog again, because rescues have very good attorneys who write very good contracts, because no one would ever adopt from a rescue if in fact they knew that Deborah Hamilton, when she gets better and finds me, can get the dog back. So I'm just telling you that not to frighten you. I'm telling you that because it really is important for everybody to make a plan. You can either go on my website and find whatever you need, or we can chat and you can figure it out. Due to COVID, I'm going to do a live event in February so that everyone can do this after Christmas, but before the spring when we get spring fever. So we'll do it remotely and make sure that everybody makes their plan. So without further ado, I am going to ask everyone how they're doing tonight. Carol, you're a newbie, so I won't start with you. And Sheila, you're here. Yay, Sheila Duran is here. So I'm going to start with Deb. How are you doing today, and how are your babies?
Doing great. Kids are all good. I've made my plan. I've done all the stuff. I'm very vigilant when I travel with my critters, and cats are way worse loose in a car than a dog.
Yeah.
I would never travel with a loose dog. So.
And you have your sticker on the dashboard of your car, right? So no police officer has to look or no.
And I have my instructions right with it. So, yep.
Yep, because we just want to make sure nobody has to use their brain to save our pets. That we want it right there. It's got to be idiot proof. Thank you so much, Deb. And you're looking great. Did you have a good holiday?
Yes, quiet, but good.
Good. Wonderful. Sally, how's everything going? I know I saw Athena. She has nice, clean feet now because I took off her slippers. You have to unmute yourself or I can't hear you. No unmuting. Let's see. There you go.
Athena's great. She's sound asleep after being groomed today and going to the vet. And yeah, I think she's just all set to go out and walk tomorrow. So everything is great here. Thank you.
Oh, perfect. Connie, how's everything out in California? Any more awards? How are the kids?
The reason I was a minute or two late was I just got the news that my stinky 20-month-old boy just completed his Rally Novice title virtually through AKC.
Yay.
And he only needed one leg. He had two qualifying legs, but he's going through this adolescent boy thing where he doesn't want to do it down anymore. So anyway, we had quite a few video shoots. I finally got two that were decent. Sent them both in, just one as an extra insurance.
Aaron is fair, right? Aaron is fair.
He got 2 Qs, so he's done. But as I'm sure all of you have seen from the headlines, LA is in lockdown again.
Yeah.
We can only go out for essential services like food, pharmacy, that sort of thing. Doctor's appointments. Otherwise, we are supposed to stay home.
Oh, so that means your little training in the park is done.
Our training in the park, in fact, it was Friday afternoon. I didn't go to training just because we were expecting that the order was going to come down imminently. And in fact, I sent it when it came through email. I sent it to the gal who organizes it, who used to be my rally instructor. And she said she heard the news on her way home, and she sent out an email blast on Saturday morning saying, our practice is no longer until further notice. And a bunch of us were supposed to, 1,200 dogs are entered Kennel Club of Riverside this coming Saturday, including my stinky boy who just finished his rally novice. And half of us in the Wheaton breed are pulling.
So are they allowed to have it? Because that's too many people in one spot, right?
Exactly. Well, 1,200 dogs are entered. It's supposed to be a show and go. You come, you show in the class that you're entered in, you're gone. But nonetheless, for instance, in LA County, there are no gatherings in any.
I guess that's how they get around it, because they only have maybe 10 or 15 entries. That means 10 or 15 people plus the judge and the steward. So that's less than 20. I guess that's how they get around the gathering. But each ring has that, maybe.
Each ring has that, and there are 1,200 dogs total.
Yeah.
Each.
So that makes no sense. I'll get back to you. Let me check in with Kieran. Kieran, how's everything in England? It's dark there where you are.
No, I'm in Tenerife, not in
Oh,
England.
you're still in Tenerife. I don't
I'm
even like
still
you
in
anymore,
Tenerife.
Kieran.
It's dark here. You'll find this a little bit strange, Debbie, which is I living in a cave at the moment
Oh, God.
on an eco project, and it's fascinating, where it's a community that builds their own houses from the materials in the earth.
Oh, wow.
And that's the good side. The downside is there is no electricity after 8 o'clock in the evening.
Oh, okay. So you're on blackout, except for whatever battery run operated stuff you can do.
That's it.
Well, I'm so glad to have you here. Hold on a minute, because we're going to check in with Carol and Sheila. So Carol, introduce yourself. Tell us who your dog is.
Yes. I heard you speak at the Therapy Dog Symposium.
Oh,
and and so I'm here with my friend Dan Dog Walker to get some more information. And actually, Cordy, my dog, is here in the room with us, but we're in masks at this point. We're in the Chicago area, so we're masked up because we're not in the same household. So, but we're both here in the same room watching together.
Wonderful. Well, I'm so glad you're here. Yeah, the information for you guys is huge, because what Connie pointed out and what you're pointing out is we have to make sure that the caregivers we have are able to get to our dogs. I spoke at the beginning of COVID when I started these meetings that it used to be that you could have anybody come from anywhere to take care of your pets, but now they have to be sort of your next door neighbor, or else they might not be able to get there.
Exactly. So we're just interested to hear what's going on. And
perfect. I don't know how much of the beginning spiel, but I'll go over it again at the end, because I always say, the MAAP plan is the easiest thing to remember. So you have to make a plan, address the needs of your pet, appoint caregivers, and publish it, which means that your dog walker would have to know if she's one of the caregivers, long-term, short-term. She'd have to know who the other caregivers are in case she's busy and she needs help. Everybody has to know everybody. Redundancy is key, and making sure that whatever plan you make is realistic. I always have people say, well, I want my dog to live alone in a house with an older woman who doesn't have a husband, who's going to take is really going to take good care of the dog. And I go, well, I want to move in wherever that is, so I can be really well taken care of without a husband. But I digress. We love you, Kieran. We're not making fun. But so that we can make sure that the plan you make isn't so onerous that nobody will take your dog, but that the dog is put in a place where the dog remains safe. That is incredibly key. And we were talking at the beginning, I don't know if you were here, about traveling, making sure if you travel with your pet, you put something in the car that is easy to find. We don't want anybody to have to look for the content.
Oh, I never thought about that. Yeah, good point.
And that's if the dog's with you or not, because dogs are home alone for people who are going places and God forbid something happens, or they go to the doctors thinking, I just don't feel good, and then are admitted to the hospital, you really do need to have that information in your car, whether the dog is with you or not, or cat.
Oh, good point. Really good point. Yeah.
Well, we have lots of good points. I'm sure that Connie and Sally would say she comes up with some stupid good point every single time. I leave every night with something new and interesting. So let me check in with Sheila. Sheila's an old friend. Sheila, I'm so glad you're here. She's not talking. You have to unmute yourself.
Can you hear me now?
I can. How are you?
Oh, I'm so glad to be a part of this. Listen, I've learned things from you guys just by listening to this conversation. My doggie is named Socks. He's taking swimming lessons now.
Good for him.
Twice a week. And I invited his best friend, who's 10 years older, to join us. And I must say that between both dogs, they've gotten such energy. You can't believe it. It's like they're two little young dogs now. So I'm glad I did it. It's a canine fitness place here in the Annapolis area of Maryland. But listen, I've just learned a lot of things from you guys, and I don't have a plan. I need to get a plan. I don't have instructions in the car. And the more you guys were talking, I realized, wait a minute, this is serious. We're in the middle of a coronavirus. And even if we weren't in coronavirus, we really, really need to take care of these things, because my doggie's like my best friend.
Yep.
He's like my son.
Yep.
You know? So
it's better than your son. He doesn't talk back. And you missed the part.
He doesn't talk back, but boy, he puts me under guilt feelings all the time. He wants to go everywhere I go. But I'm saying I'm really learning from this conversation, and it's a joy.
Well, we're here every Wednesday at 6:30, except last Wednesday for Thanksgiving prep, because we were doing Thanksgiving prep. But we'll be here. And the thing that's really interesting, you missed the part about my son who's traveling cross country. So Deb alluded to it. You know, my son's driving cross country and won't listen to me because they don't. You know about that, Sheila. So
that's the truth,
right? So he's driving with his cat free in the car from California, and I'm trying so hard to find my friends who will give him some information that will create a need in him to put her, my grandkitty Jane, in a kennel. So.
Oh, wow. I'm just, listen, I'm learning a lot from you guys. You've got to tell me how much it costs to get my plan, because I got to have one. And,
well, absolutely. It's on the website, but I will write you an email, send you a link, or Rose will send you a link, my assistant who's here, because it is really important, and it's
beyond important. Yeah. So do it. And I'm going to get my girlfriend to do it as well. And I'm going to invite her to join us next week.
Well, because your girlfriend will be the person who you've probably spoken to already. And I know everyone on this call is going to shake their head when I say this. Your girlfriend is the one you've already spoken to take care of your pet, but nobody knows it. And if, in fact, your girlfriend comes to take care of your dog and there's nothing in writing, she can't, even though she's supposed to.
This is what I'm saying. I didn't know these things. And I'm a lawyer, too. So I'm learning a lot from you. And it's well worth it to be on this phone.
Oh, good. Well, tell all your friends, because everybody who has a dog should be on this call. And I know that Sally and Connie and our friend Diane were on from the beginning. Kieran's been on often. Deb's been on often. Carol, I hope you'll come back with your colleague. What's her name again, Carol? She's muted.
Oh, hi, I'm Christy.
Hi, Christy.
Actually, I signed up for the webinar too. I just signed in with Carol. So
no worries. I'm so glad you did, and you'll get the recording, so you'll hear this information again. I'm sort of
fabulous.
Yeah, I'm sort of a redundant kind of person because
I am too. So
I want suspenders, I want a belt, I want shoelaces, I want galoshes. I want to make sure every dog, when I spoke to the therapy group about 10 days ago, I said to them, you spend so much time with your dogs and you do so much with your dogs and you've trained your dogs to be such valuable dogs. You know that you would like them to be therapy dogs going forward. If something happened to you when they were still able to be therapy dogs, if you don't put that in writing, that might not ever happen. So you need to really think about that. And I know that I'm moving to North Carolina and I usually take care of Sally's dog. So we are thinking about what the next steps are for us regarding who's going to step in and care for her dog. And I know Connie, so for all of you who haven't been here since the beginning of time, which is March when COVID started, the idea that having people, in your sphere who would take care of your pet became much smaller. Because they have to be able to get to you. So Sally's in Connecticut. My girlfriend Susie's in Maryland. My other girlfriend Amory is in New Jersey. And they wouldn't have been able to get to me if I went to the hospital with COVID at the lockdown because nobody was really allowed in. I mean, I guess they could have broken the law, which I'm sure Sally would have done. However, she would then have had, to quarantine at home and do all that stuff. So what I did, which was really interesting and a way to spread the word about the MAP plan, but also get what you want done, is to put little postcards in your neighbors who have dogs, mailboxes, and even maybe your neighbors who like your dogs, who actually pet your dogs when you're walking, and say, hey, if something happens to you, if they have the dog, if something happens to you, I'm right here. Here's my number. I'll take care of your dogs. And people will then come to you like they did in my neighborhood when I did it to everybody who had a dog. They came to my house and they said, we never even thought of that. We're so glad you're here. And by the way, if something happens to you, we'll take care of your dogs, which of course was the reason I did it. I am altruistic, but I was also quite self-centered in that I wanted to make sure there was somebody I could call in my block who would let my dog in or out, given if I or my husband got sick. So these are things we don't think about that you really need to think about. So before we wrap up, I want to check in with Kieran because he's in Tenerife. Now, Kieran is my dear friend. We've been on the call a few times. He actually is from Ireland, but he's staying in Tenerife because of COVID. And he just told us, I don't know, Carol and Christy or Sheila, if you heard, but he's in Tenerife in a cave because he's doing a lot of work with people who are building homes. Right, Kieran?
Yes, this is the cave.
Wow. And
well,
the reason Kieran came on the MAP program is because he is starting to build a program where people have to take Dog Ownership Responsibility 101 program, where people would have to really learn how to be a responsible pet owner before they got a dog. So tell us a little bit more about that, Kieran. How's that going?
it's going slowly. It's inch by inch, but we're getting there. And we've a couple of backers. So hopefully in the next few weeks, we'll be able to roll it out as intended.
Is it going to be in Ireland first?
It's going to be North and South Ireland first, yeah. That said, Debbie, I'll be in touch with you shortly. Maybe if you could do a promo for your online talks in, did you say January or February?
Yep. I'm going to be putting that together. Rose and I are getting together tomorrow to map out our next 3 months. So everybody will probably know by next Wednesday when we're going to pull everybody together. And we're going to do it in breakout rooms because I have found the best part of my in-person programs are the people sitting around the table thinking about, oh, well, what about this? And somebody goes, oh my God, I didn't even think about that. Just like here, just like what Sheila said, I didn't even think about that. So when we work, we'll do breakout rooms where everybody's going to talk about their dogs and what's really great about their dogs. And maybe their dogs, shouldn't be in, because now the foxtails or the foxgloves or whatever those things are that stick in the dog's paws. Horrible. So you really need to know about that, and you need to make sure that you tell someone who's taking care of your dog in the fall, make sure you check their paws for foxgloves. In the spring, make sure you check your dogs for ticks because they're like a tick magnet, and little things that we never think about because we do it for a rote. It's really difficult.
Can I ask a question?
Sure. Yep.
You know those stickers you put on your he goes to veterans place, and I have this wonderful sticker on my refrigerator, so clearly anybody knows where to take him in case he needs a vet. But I'm just wondering if there's you got anybody artistic in the group who can create those stickers, unique stickers that you can put on your refrigerator. But I mean, in advance you tell them what you want on the sticker. Here's
the information that you want to put on your refrigerator would include the number to call, God forbid if they pick you up off the floor, the number to call for your animals, and leave your animals put. You don't want them to go to animal care and control unless there is nobody who can come and take care of your pets at that moment, which is why I always say, talk to your neighbor. I don't care who they are. Talk to your neighbor, because all your neighbor has to do is say to Animal Care and Control, I'll let them out. And then that will give you time to have the people who are going to take your pets get there. But you have to have a neighbor who's going to see that you're being carried out in an ambulance, and maybe you're copacetic and maybe you aren't, so that they can tell Animal Care and Control or the EMTs who are going to call Animal Care and Control that in fact you have somebody, the numbers on the refrigerator, the numbers on the door. The fireman stickers are great, but I usually just buy Post-it notes because I'm a big Post-it note person, and I write them on Post-it notes because people change. So if you write them, nobody ever, when the Post-it note looks ratty, it makes you redo the sticker. And that means I'll check in with Sally again. I'll check in with Connie again. I'll check in with Deb again. Is it okay if I put your number on? So that you are checking in all the time to make sure the people who are going to take care of your pets still can. Like I said at the beginning, so many people talk. So it was March yesterday. I don't know about all of you, but for me, I was walking around looking at the Christmas lights while I walk Roxy tonight. And I said, it was just March. How can we have Christmas lights? Because it seems like the last 9 months are a blur. So before you know it, 3 years go by after you ask someone whether or not they'll take care of your pet. They've moved out of their house. They're either in a smaller house or in a condominium where they don't allow pets, and they forgot to tell you. Because A, you didn't ask, and B, they didn't know to tell you. And so you really do have to check all the time. So having those numbers on the refrigerator, on the back door, on one of those big, 4x5 Post-it notes that they have in bright colors, orange or green, just so that people, I'm big on not having to think. Please God, don't make anybody think about caring for my dog. A few months ago, well, now it's September, I drove my dog, Junie, to North Carolina. And as I was driving him there, I had people's names in every state as I went through it. So that if in fact if I have an accident in North Carolina, this is who you call. If I have an accident in Virginia, this is who you call. If I have an accident in Maryland, here's who you call. I'm very involved. I don't want to write your will, but I want to talk to your attorney to make sure that you can add this in and you don't have to rewrite your will every time you get a new dog or every time one of your caregivers changes. You want to be sure to just refer to it in your will so that in fact you can change it as you need to without having to pay somebody to rewrite your will or your trust. So before we close down, oh my goodness, I'm running my mouth a lot tonight.
Have you ever thought about a registry, like a central registry? Because if it were, if you have one on your website, then anybody and everybody who wants to register that pertinent information is there.
There are several registries out there. They're great. The only issue I always have with a registry is the person who's coming to help you has to find that information and check in with it. Because it's, you have to go to someone who has a wand to read the microchip. So I'm a little bit, I have 3 or 4 people who I've had on the MAAP plan who've talked about that, or I've had on Why Do Pets Matter who've talked about that. They have these programs where you can register the dogs and know where they're going to go. And that's fabulous. But for me, I'm trying to make sure that at point zero, you have the information right there so people don't take your dogs. I know this is redundant for Sally and Connie, maybe for Deb, but there was an older woman who broke her ankle and had her Afghan 9 years old since it was a little puppy. And they took it and she said, where are you taking my dog? And they said, oh, we're taking it to Animal Care Control. It'll be there when you get out. Well, 4 months later, when she got out, she didn't have her cell phone with her. So they were calling her, but she didn't answer. They gave after the 5 days had run, they gave the dog to an Afghan rescue who placed it. And now she probably will spend $10,000 to $20,000 trying to get that dog back and won't.
Oh my gosh. Maybe some legislative push can help.
Well, rescues don't want to have the people come and try to get the dogs back. So their contracts are pretty tight. So there's a reason for contracts to be tight when you adopt from a rescue. However, it doesn't help in the calamity that we're experiencing now, as well as this calamity when you break your leg.
Yeah.
So Sheila, absolutely. Before I close, because I promise I only keep you half an hour and I'm already 5 minutes over, and I apologize. Does anybody have any question? I know that Rose is going to send the follow-up email with all the contact information you might need and the recording. You can go on my website, and of course you can always write me and ask me any question you have. And please think about joining us. I know Connie and Sally will say, and Deb probably will chime in as well. It's been sort of a lifeline for all of us during COVID. So invite friends. It has. Thank you, Deb. And Connie, I know Connie was living through the fires. We were all praying for Connie during the fires in LA because she was almost having to evacuate every Wednesday.
It was, I'm in a very high, in fact, the town I live in is the largest incorporated city in the state of California that's in a very high fire danger zone.
Right.
So I keep the 3 crates in my car all the time during that,
Oh my gosh.
sort of weather, with leashes and food and the whole 9 yards right there.
Yeah, the pop and run, because what Connie has shared with us is that you don't really know what you don't know. So the wind shifts and all of a sudden something that wasn't going to be of danger is of danger. Yep.
And when the fire choppers the county fire choppers are up over the house, I start worrying.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're glad that's over for now. And Deb, everybody's okay? Anybody have a question, Carol or Christy or Sheila?
No, I just want to repeat, this has been a really wonderful, valuable, helpful half an hour. And thank you.
Oh, you're very welcome. We're here every Wednesday, 6:30, because, I needed it to help people during COVID. And I'm hopeful that my regulars found it to be useful and really give us the ability to know that we've done something to care for our pets. God forbid something happens to us. I'm not morbid. I really am not, but I'm old. And so I know that shit happens. Our balance really stinks, and
it really does. That's true.
I'm raising my hand. I broke my ankle. So, I found out all about this when I broke my ankle in 2013, and I have been banging the drum. So if you have a friend, the only thing I ask is if you have a friend, bring them next time, because we're building this community so that we can make sure that you don't have to. First of all, if you come to these things, you'll learn what you need to put in it anyway, all the time. So you just have to take notes. You never have to pay me a dime, or you can go get the do-it-yourself one. I mean, it's not, I'm not handling for money ever. Raise your hand if I've ever handled for money. No, I just want to make sure that everybody knows how important it is to come every Wednesday, get every tidbit of information I share, and make your own plan. Or if you want more help, let me know. I mean, go on the website, Rose will send all the things out and you'll be able to, pick whichever one you want, because all I'm hopeful is that if God forbid something happens, you can say, well, thank God I did what Deborah told me. I had that, note in my car. I had that note on my fridge or my back door. And the dogs were safe for the 2 months I was at rehab. And there was not a blip, because everybody knew that they went from person to person to person and everything worked out. So any more questions? Because I want to let you guys go and have your evening, and I can hear my husband calling because he's hungry.
Bye.
Well, thank you all for coming. If you have a chance, don't forget to try my podcast, Why Do Pets Matter? We talk to incredible people. So come on Wednesdays at 6:30 and listen to the podcast. It really is fun. Talk to people from all over, even David Fry. Also Michelle Pick. So we've done the therapy dog thing as well. So join, get the podcast. It really is fun. And I wish you all a very happy week and look forward to seeing you next Wednesday.
Bye-bye.
Okay, thanks very much, Debbie.
Bye, everyone. Bye. Come again.